So I'm going to officially call our meeting to order Thursday, November 13th at 7:13 p.m. for the Arbor Creek Drainage Board Determination. To kind of outline what the proceedings are about tonight. We're actually here for you. We're here tonight to hear testimony from homeowners living in the Arbor Creek Drainage District and the necessity of improvements to the drain or to the drainage district. So we have a 3-person board. 3 gentlemen here. We have Robert Teetons, Andrew Schmidt, Barry LaRue. They're an independent panel that will decide whether or not to approve necessity to go ahead and do a project and undertake, repairs or improvements to the drain, or they could also vote no to do that. And when we get further in the proceedings, I can talk about what the ramification of their decision are, how that relates to the property owners within the district. So I'm proud to represent them. I'm going to go ahead again according to the drain code. We're going to go through and panel them so they're official. So I'm going to go and kind of turn it back to you and panel the board, and then we'll turn the meeting over to them. They'll actually be in charge of the meeting and running it from that point forward. And hopefully some of the unexplained parts of it will come clear as we go along, but there's certainly an opportunity if someone has further questions. So comment as we go. And in fact, I don't know, some of you may remember this from 2008. We did a similar process. You were a property owner back then, where our BOD was to be initiated at that time. So we're back again. Okay, so I'm going to panel the board, gentlemen. Ask you a series of 4 questions and ask you to raise your hand, respond to an oath, and in your answers, if you're prepared. First question: are you a freeholder of land in the state of Michigan? Yes. Yeah. Do you reside in Washtenaw County? Yes. Yeah. Do you own land in the drainage district, or would you be affected by any special assessment that may be levied? No. Do you feel you can make an unbiased and objective decision based on testimony you receive? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and you don't have to repeat you can just respond to it. So, you and each of you do solemnly swear that you will faithfully perform and discharge the duties imposed upon you and each of you as required by law as members of the Board of Determination appointed by the Water Resources Commissioner of the Town of Washtenaw to determine the necessity of improvements as requested in the petition dated July 28, 2025 to a certain drain known and designated as the Arbor Creek Drain in the Township of Pittsfield, Suffolk County. So there are no panel, and I will turn the proceedings over to you and suggest that you adopt an agenda and then subsequently elect the chair. I move that we adopt the agenda as submitted. Board. Like a move. All in favor? Aye. And I would also move to elect Andrew Schmidt as chairperson for this board. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
We need to about the secretary then.
I'll nominate Gregory Lou, just so the secretary of the regulation.
Support. I accept. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Barry. Scott, I think we can.
Okay. I will with that. So I'm going to we'll do this in 2 parts. So I'm going to present a brief history of the drain And then we have Jeffrey Peters with us on our staff who's going to present an inspection report that he conducted. And then after those are concluded and the board asks questions, we'll get to the point where we'll ask the public where to. Anyway. To both of you, or all of you. All right, so Arbor Creek Drainage District, brief history. The drain was established in 1997. There has indeed been a petition on this drain in 2008. The project was initiated at that time, and it was substantially subsequently abandoned in 2013 for being economically unfeasible by the commissioner at the time. The drain itself is a sub-district of Mallett's Creek and Pittsfield #1 drains. And essentially the district drains east towards Mallett's Creek, and then a southern portion of it discharges to Hawthorne Ridge and Pittsfield #1 drain district. So it's a little bit of a split watershed. But all the roads in the drain district are public. The entire drain and drain district lies within Pittsfield Township in section 6. We have variable width easements throughout the development, which are outlined on your depiction there in green. And on this particular chart, our easements are shown in green. Yeah. There's 178 parcels in the district, and it comprises 67.76 acres. And there is indeed a recent history of assessment on this drain. So we've had assessments for the last 10 years consecutively, ranging from around $1,500 total to a high of $6,500 total for various maintenance operations. So we've done fragmitis control, some controlled burns, and then done various maintenance on and structure repairs throughout the years. I think other than that, that would constitute the basic history of the drain and drainage district, unless there's any question. Okay, so other than that, we do have Jeffrey Peters with us. He's on our staff, and we made a full inspection of the drain in October, I believe it was.
Yes.
And he's going to present that for the board.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Peters. I'm a drainage inspector for the Washington County Water Resources Office. If you don't mind, I'm going to clear this just a little bit. Let's get there. Bear with me a moment here. To give you a quick overview of the drain here coming this meeting with heading. An agreement to establish the Arbor Creek Drainage District, Chapter 18, Section 280.433 PH 40 of 1956 was signed November 26, 1997, thus creating the Arbor Creek Drainage as a county district under the jurisdiction of the Washington County Water Resources Commissioner's Office. The development was designed and built in 4 phases with 178 lots and was located in the intersection of Waters Road and Oaks Valley Road, Pittsfield Township, section 6. Final acceptance as a county drain occurred December 1st, 2005. The development stormwater system includes 58 storm manholes, 62 catch basins, 28 inlets and or outlets, and 5 detention basins with control structure. The total length of the stormwater management system is 2.25 miles, with 1.1 miles falling under the jurisdiction of the Washington County Road Commission, including structures within the road right of way. 1.15 miles of the 2.25 miles total fall under the jurisdiction of the Washington County Water Resources Commissioner's Office, with an annual maintenance limit for that 1.15 miles being $20,560. The storm system under the jurisdiction of the Washington County Resources Commissioner's office. It was inspected by myself, between October 21st and October 30th of this year. For the purposes of this presentation, the drainage district, we broke it down into 5 drainage areas corresponding with the 5 detention basins. All right, drainage area number 1. This is detention basin number 1 with a general view of the basin looking west. It had a recent prescribed to the cold burn. This is basin number 1 outlet structure. The filter pack needs maintenance and has moderate vegetation. An 18-inch inlet, approximately 15 inches of sediment, heating flow, and no grade. Picture from 2267 Gemstone Court. The area swale in the rear yard, and we have a 4-inch private grade that's there. This is 2281 Gemstone Court, where we have grade swale in the rear yard. We have 2 private catch basins. Another catch basin was dehydrate and vegetation and feeding flow. I guess for a quick note for everybody. The location, you look at where the red circle is here, that's where the location is. So kind of talk around a little bit. We're gonna keep you back in.
Okay, comments on the first couple of slides, we show you the. What is the clear environment?
Leave to leaks though.
I know. Yeah.
That's why we consider them private. Another catch basin, vegetation and feeding flow. And we have another catch basin with vegetation and feeding flow with 2 private drainage discharges and a catch basin. It's 2317 Courtney Circle Court. Drainage swale in the rear yard where vegetation and landscaping is impeding flow. And we have a 4-inch private drainage. Drainage area number 2. Detention basin number 2, general view of the basin looking west. This is basin number 2 outlet structure. Where I found a degree on the grade and filter path needs maintenance or replacement. And on the opposite side of the pond, there's 18-inch inlet with minor sediment and no grade. The same detention basin has a 12-inch inlet which is submerged and no grade. And the far side of the photo is an 18-inch inlet, approximately 4 inches of sediment and no grade. This is 2908 Mystic Drive, the drainage swale in the rear yard, vegetation and feeding flow. This is a 12-inch inlet with no grate, vegetation surrounding the structure, and it has 3 4-inch private drain discharges and the inlet. It's 2880 Mystic Drive, the drainage swale in the rear yard. It's stating water when I'm doing it. This is 2899 Mystic Drive, the drainage swale in the rear yard, vegetation and feeding flow. This is 2939 Mystic Drive, the drainage swale in the rear yard, has a 4-inch private drain discharge and vegetation and feeding flow. This is at 2361 Rockport Court, the drainage swale in the rear yard, and standing water, invasive vegetation. We've had a recent prescribed control burn. Also has a forest presence radius there. This is catch basin with the dehydrate, debris on the grate and sediment competing flow. The drainage area number 3. This is the detention basin number 3, general view looking west. This basin had a recent control burn. This is one of the 3 sediment forebays in the detention basin. This one needs maintenance and has vegetation growing in the forebay. 15-inch inlet at the sediment basin, which has minor vegetation and is also part of the recent control burn. This is the photo of the second sediment forebay, which needs maintenance. It has moderate to heavy vegetation. This is a 15-inch inlet at that sediment basin, which has no grade and moderate vegetation going on. This is a 30-inch inlet into the detention basin that has no grade, and there's a 4-inch present drain discharge right on top of it, and has moderate vegetation. This is the third sediment forebay that needs maintenance. There's approximately 12 inches of sediment in the forebay, and it's also part of the recent prescribed control burn. And this is the 24-inch inlet at that forebay, which has no drain, approximately 18 inches of sediment, competing flow, moderate to heavy vegetation, and it's also the part of that recent prescribed burn. This is 2316 Portland Circle Court, the drain swale in the rear yard. There's a 4-inch private pop-up drain discharging and also standing water. It's a pair of catch basins with dehydrates. Both of them have vegetation impeding flow. It's like you noted, these are actually approximately 8 feet apart. This is from 2357 Marquis Court, drain swale in the rear yard. And 4-inch private pop-up drain discharge. Photos from 2398 Rockport Court. The drain swale in the rear yard with a private catch basin. Photos from 2393 Marquis Court. The drainage swale in the rear yard has standing water. And it's from the same address, 2393 Marquis Court. The drainage swale in the rear yard also has a private catch basin. Photos from 2399 Marquis Court. The drainage swale in the rear yard has a 4-inch private surface drain discharge and it's standing water. This photo is from the same address, 2399 Marquis Court. The drainage swale in the rear yard where it has vegetation and heating flow. Same address, 2399 Marquis Court. The drainage swale in the rear yard, another spot with standing water. 2400 Marquis Court. The drainage swale in the rear yard, it's standing water. Same address, 2400 Marquis Court, the drainage swale in the rear yard, and vegetation and feeding flow. And this is the same address, 2400 Marquis Court. These two photos were taken on May 27th of 25. I responded to a service request with that residents. Has a 4-inch pop-up drain, and there's a discharge. Standing water is vegetation is treating full. And this would both up in that same direction, the pop-up drain and the standing water. This is the catch basin, which has all erosion control measures still inside the catch basin. This is from 2796 Mystic Drive, the drain swale in rear yard. Has a retaining wall or landscape planter and feeding flow. Photo is from 2782 Mystic Drive, the drain swale in the rear yard of standing water. Photos from 2770 Mystic Drive, the drainage swale in the rear yard. Has the existing rain garden and landscaping and feeding flow and standing water. And this photo is 2258 Boulder Ridge Drive. The drainage swale in the rear yard is 2 private catch basins and a 4-inch private drain discharge from east onto the neighbor's property. All right, drainage area number 4. Catch basin number 4. This is a general view of it. If they reach prescribed burn. This is the outlet structure for basin number 4. Needs maintenance and has moderate vegetation growing. The detention basin, there is a 15-inch inlet with no grate and moderate vegetation growing up. Basin also has a 21-inch inlet with no grate and moderate vegetation and minor setup buildup, minor sediment buildup in front of the set. This is another 21-inch inlet with moderate vegetation and sediment and previous flow. This photo is from 2265 Boulder Ridge Drive. The drainage swale in the rear yard, standing water. This photo is from 2269 Boulder Ridge Drive. Drainage swale in the rear yard and 2 private catch basins. This photo is at one of our catch basins. There's 2 private 4-inch surface drains discharging at the catch basin. Another catch basin with a 4-inch private drain discharge. Photos from 2636 Cook Creek Court, the drainage swale in the rear yard of the private catch basin. Photos from 2624 Cook Creek Court, drainage swale in the rear yard and the private catch basin. The photo is from the same address, 2624 Cook Creek Court. This is a photo of the second private catch basin. This photo is from the same address, 2624 Cook Creek Court. This is the third private catch basin. Okay, private. From 2608 Cook Creek Court, the drainage swale in the rear yard to the private drain and catch basin. Photos from 2570 Cook Creek Court, the drainage swale in the rear yard. We have a storage shed and landscaping is being built. And this is from 2268 Boulder Ridge Drive. The drainage swale in the rear yard, vegetation and feeding flow. All right, on to the last, drainage area number 5. General view of catching basin number 5, looking north. The station had a recent control tour. This is the outlet structure at basin number 5, which needs maintenance and it has moderate vegetation. The 12-inch inlet into catching basin number 5. There's approximately 12 inches of sediment built up in PV 12, minor vegetation, and it's again part of the recent described. State detention basin has a 24-inch inlet, approximately 12 to 15 inches of sediment build up. PV 12, moderate vegetation also has a 4-inch private drainage there. This is another 12-inch inlet. That is approximately 12 inches of sediment build up in PV 12. Recent prescribed, this is all part of the recent prescribed control. And this is from 2651 Mystic Drive. This is a drainage swale behind the property that heads to the vegetation of the. Around the corner, there's another catch basin with the green vegetation and feeding 12. And another 18-inch inlet with 2 4-inch private drainage discharges and vegetation and feeding 12. It's a photo of another catch basin with the dehydrated and improper circulation. This photo is from 2288 Spring Ridge Drive. The drainage swale in the rear yard where vegetation is completing flow. Photos from 2304 Spring Ridge Drive. The drainage swale in the rear yard. And we have a minimal defined and this photo is from 2352 Spring Ridge Drive. The drainage swale in the rear yard, which is no defined. To give you a brief summary here. The control structures, the detention basins 1, 2, 4, and 5 need maintenance. We have 7 basins and 4 bays and detention basin number 3, which need maintenance. Multiple end sections and detention basins have sediment build up to PV flow. Catch basins and end sections throughout the district with vegetation PV flow. Throughout the drain district, rear yard drainage swales have multiple private residential catch basins and drainage discharges, along with landscaping and vegetation and PV flow. Some areas of rear yard drainage swales have minimal fall, improper grading with no defined swale. And throughout the drainage district, several areas were observed with standing water with no occurred fall. That is the end of my report. Or any questions from me at this time?
Thank you, John. Yes, we do. In terms of the private structures and drainage outlets, can you tell me, is that typical in a residential development like this and the proper or not? I'm unfamiliar with how that is viewed.
Each development's situational, of course. I would say on average, though, this has a notable number of private connections that we normally would not see in a development of this sort in this era. We occasionally see maybe 2 to 5 or a half dozen or so. So this is probably more than what we typically encounter, yes. And then the second part of that was
I already forgot.
Well, first of all, is it indicative of the failure of the main drains that were? Or is it? I don't mean to put this in a judgmental way, is it? Illegal or improper to be connected to those drains? I'm just.
Right. So, it gets a little more complicated, but I think the way this would lay out is, I guess I'll address this steps at a time. Is it indicative of an issue? Not necessarily. We occasionally will see this sort of thing where, the developer or the home builder will install them at the time that the house was built to like serve a downspout system where they'll connect a downspout to these outlets to discharge them to the swale to get the water away that way. And occasionally we'll see them do that with the sump pumps and have the sump pumps discharge that way. Is it illegal? It's not illegal. It's legal to do it under permit. I don't know, in this particular case, I would state most of them are not permitted, but we're not a punitive agency by nature, so it's not something we would take immediate action on. I would say though, more modern ones, we do have catch basins and a pipe network in this particular development. In those cases, it was a little more typical on the approved plan sets to include stubs right into the catch basins so that the homeowner could connect a sump pump or a downspout directly into the catch basin structure. Certainly when there's a swale system, and there's also swale systems in this where we have open water conveyances, that's not possible to provide a stub necessarily. In those cases, we usually do them merely by permit, as the homes come online, but, I don't know, that covered all.
I was just curious.
Curious about the utility building or storage building that was in the shopping floor. That, and there was landscaping trees that I thought pretty significant size that were also planted. What would happen to all of that? As part of the maintenance.
Part of maintenance. So, we would, you can, if it's not providing obstruction to flow, you can get permits for temporary structures or vegetation, things like that. I would say if in this case where they are impeding flow, we would request the homeowner take action to remove them, especially if the obstruction was creating a flooding hazard on someone else's property. I'll be honest, if the flooding's localized to the property in question, we generally, don't get too forceful because it's not affecting anyone else but themselves. In cases where they are like affecting flow either upstream or downstream of the property in question, we'll ask the homeowners to remove them at their expense. If they choose to not, I guess, cooperate and we exhaust that measure, our last resort would be to remove the obstructions ourselves and special assess the property owner for the cost of doing so. But again, that's a very rare circumstance. We don't, again, we generally, I mean, it's private property. I mean, we hold an easement, so our inclination is not to have people remove things that they've installed on their private property if we can avoid it.
Jeff, a number of the slides were the image of the operator described for the form. Was that done under the auspices of the Water Resources Commissioner's Office?
Yes.
Made
Yes.
visibility for the inspection.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I had no idea.
Yep, that was her office, and it essentially to control the phragmites, which is an invasive species.
Yeah, we do have an environmental services staff that coordinate especially evasives removals. So, yeah, we do that internally.
Any other questions? Hey. At this point, we're gonna open this up for the public comment. Harry, is there a motion that we care to make?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes per person.
There's support for that, or move support, any discussion? I know this is a pretty standard time limit, but all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for those of you who would like to speak, if you haven't filled out one of these little white cards that's available over on the desk there, please fill that out. That's part of the record, our court reporter will use this to document this meeting. Oh, we would certainly, yeah, we would certainly gain forward to seeing those. We have folks, remote that are gonna want to make comment as well.
We do have about 20 people online. For all of you online participants, if you would like to address the board or make public comment, if you can go ahead and raise your hand and I will be able to fill out your speaking card for you and we will allow you to address the board as well.
Thank you. All right, at this point, we're gonna open up public comment now. I'm gonna read the names from the card. I'm gonna ask you to come up to the podium here, because we have a speaker there for the photo reporter. And if you have photographs that you want to share, submit those. Staff is, we'd like to take a look at them, but it's that. Oh, it's better. So, our first contestant this evening, Marvin Wagner. Please state your name and your address.
Thank you all. Marvin Wagner, 2374 Rockport Court. Original owners moved in there in 97 February. And have had drainage issues for almost since the beginning that we've been there. I do have some pictures, but I did not email them to you. I do have some if you want to pass them around. And I have some correspondence of dealing with the Arbor Creek president, Mr. Anderson, who's here now. And these are some of the email pictures that I have. And I will also give you these individuals. These are one of the things is I have the whether it's a blessing or a curse to have two of the drainage catch basins, if I'm not saying the proper word, but the basins behind our home. And I can just watch the water come down like a river and it kind of stops. It doesn't go down that way. So for years I've had an issue. I know Jim and I have been in correspondence via email and to my house. And Peters was also over there just to see what was been going on. When it rains, it's very difficult to even cut the grass. We have a landscape company that comes to do the commons area. They have the large wheels. Those wheels go right into the ground and it messes up the swale and everything how it's supposed to go. I know there was a period of time, probably in the early 2000s, when there was an additional catch basin that was put in about 3 homes to the west of where I live to try to help that. We do back up to a path. So our house backs up to the Marquee Court and there's a path that runs between them. One of the photographs there showed one of the homeowners and they had the lines going over that path. At some point, they put it underneath the path with a pop-up drain. So that pop-up drain now comes over where I live, which increases the amount of water that's trying to go down that drain right now as well. And my neighbor's house, I'm the second house from the corner. The neighbor, when he was original owner as well, you know, the line's supposed to come down and run into those 2 catch basins. It's always wet between our 2 homes.
and the water just doesn't seem to go down there. So I know that like 2357 and 2371 on Marquis Court are the ones that are draining into our catch basin in the back, which is causing more water to come through there. This past summer, I had a couple of possums over there just picking up some water. And a couple of days later, I found it dead out in the back. So I don't know whether it has anything to do with this or not. But, you know, they were down there. Sometimes ducks like to stay in that area too. And it's very heavily with mosquitoes. And I will say a few years back when we had not a lot of rain in the summertime, there's still water in it, you know, for months. So it can rain in April and June and July, I'm still trying to cut my lawn and the water's wet in it, which is really cratery, you know, it shouldn't be that way that I know. So, you know, I would like to present to the board that I believe this is, I didn't realize we had all these different basins, but as I do walk my dog and walk through the subdivision, I do see quite a few of these. And I know homeowners are putting up pop-up drains and things like that, I get it. But for my house, at least, you know, having been there since 1997, I've been dealing with those swamps in the back. And it's quite mushy back there, a lot, or the majority of the time. So I would hope that this board would take into consideration that we really do move forward with trying to correct it. I know, talking to Jim, we've had some of the landscape guys out there a couple times and trying to correct the swales. You know, they've added some dirt and whatnot. It's kind of helped a little bit. But then the problem is, as it comes around and then it gets too high and then it can't come down. So the water's backing up and then it eventually seeps through and comes into our catch basins in the back. And I guess that's what those two little marks are here, showing the two catch basins behind our homes. At least I think that's what that is. But I know that that's been a real issue. So I really hope that we can get something done back there because it's, like I said, it's been a thorn in my side since day one that we've been in here and just watching everything that's been going on with that. So.
Thank you.
2374. Yeah, 2374 on Roxford. Yep.
What's your name, sir?
Marvin Wagner.
Him.
Oh, him.
James.
The ones behind my house. Yeah, the ones behind my house, they're about maybe 4 to 5 feet apart. Actually, you probably know that better than I would. The two big behind my house,
Approximately 8 feet.
8 feet. Yeah, one is a little bit higher than the other one. And one is more like towards in between the two houses.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, Monica Hofeld Murphy. Did I get that right? Hofeld Murphy?
Hi, Monica Huffelmer, Drive. I would like to note that Jeff took a look at everything after a very, very dry August and September, October. You should see it in April. So I moved 2.5 years ago from out of state. I flew in for the inspection of my house. There was snow on the ground. I had presented that my backyard had a beautiful tiered landscaping and was unaware of what lay inside. So you can see what we went to the Oh, okay. So photos of 1, 2, and 3 are what I saw as the spring fog came. It looked like they were going to take at some point to put a dry riverbed in with the French shed. I had my downspout this turning into a land of mush. So we'll see when there's only. But it packed out, yeah. Okay. You can see where the right at front and to the left it's all wet. It's permanently wet. See, there. I'm wet and free. My downspout from my roof is just mush. So I contacted the county, had them come out. They looked at my area. I'm landlocked and sort of gave me, so said, too bad, why don't you talk to the rain garden, which I did. Had the county come out, talk to the rain garden. If we see 4 and 5, last year we put in a rain garden with someone that was in the rain garden book. I mean, I went through the whole Washington Water Board. It failed 3 times. I received drowned, could receive 15, 6, and 7. And at the same time, we drove the sump pump back and the downspout back. I had the rain garden people come out again from the Washington County and said that they could be put in. But in the meantime, this caught so much water, it became like a pond in the backyard, and my sump pump discharged and was underwater. Could we see pictures 8 and 9? So February of this year, it burst, my sump pump pipe burst, and the next one was discharging water in February in the cold at the basement of my house where I had an emergency. Somebody come dig it up, and could we see the last 2 pictures? Oh, so this was this summer. Something is growing. It never stops being wet. It's never particularly next form. It's creeping out of the rain garden, and you can see where tomorrow this week the next 2. When they dug it up, that's Monday. I took the downspout from driving to the back of the property. It now lays on hold. We can make the next picture, but I'm now making my yard good as ever, and now I have to unhook the sump pump that we drove to the back in the summer to try to keep as much water away from the basement as possible. I'm gonna have to lay that on top of the ground like everyone else. I've only been here 2.5 years. I know you asked if that was normal to see all those drain pipes. I think, talking to my neighbors, it's an act of desperation from people that were in a poorly drained build from the beginning. So yeah, my question to you is, I can't go anywhere. I'm landlocked. I've done everything I thought I could do in partnership with the county. We need someone else to step in, help us.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next up, Raphael Richmond. Did I get that right?
You got it exactly right. Hi there, I am Raphael Richmond. We are at 2725 Cook Creek Drive. I'm going to try to keep this to 3 minutes, but we are casting back to 1997 when we first bought, I think it's lot 80, backs up to a retention pond that I think is zone 4, a long retention pond. When the builder went to start our house, they ended up having to put in a double basement of pea gravel because it was so wet. We were young and foolish. Had I known better, we would have stepped back. I'm very glad. We love our neighborhood. We love our home. But we have been battling our backyard for nearly 30 years now. When our developer sold to a new developer, one of the first houses to begin was right next door to us. When they dug down, like an ocean came out from their property and swept across ours. We contacted the water commission to say there was a lot of sediment now settled into that retaining pond behind us. Kept sort of being a pain to the water commission. Then in 2010, about a dozen years after our house was finished, there was a big rain and the retaining pond flooded our entire backyard, and about 2 feet of water into our basement that was coming from the retaining pond across our yard, which it turns out is downhill to our house from the retaining pond. The water commission, the county worked fantastic, worked with us on it, and then worked on fixing the retaining pond. So we haven't had that sort of flood since then. But in the meanwhile, our backyard is almost never dry. And I didn't realize that we could submit pictures. I apologize. But I've got decades worth of photos of wet spots, unfortunately for us, primarily around our house. Because as indicated, the I don't know what they were thinking with the grading for our backyard. So I, not knowing that this was underway, finally, we have our last kid finishing college. We went and got a quote to have the drainage fixed in our backyard. We have a $20,000 quote twice over from 2 different reputable places. They will pull a permit, but they said we need dry wells placed into the back We need additional pea gravel put around the back of the house. And then they will regrade to get us so that hopefully we are not downhill from everything. I'll also note we are the very low point for our entire block. So when there is a heavy rain, everybody else's water also flows into our backyard. Our next door neighbors may be online, but in case they are not, they also have similar year-round wet areas in the backyard. Anything else that you would need to know from us?
I think we're sensible to the trend. Thank you very much for your comments.
Yes, I would also like to know that Jim Anderson has been on the board since the entire place was built. And he's been a great advocate for us. We probably can also give you historical perspective.
That is a perfect segue. Next up, James Anderson.
The one and only.
Good evening. Name is James Anderson. I live at 2330 Spring Ridge Court. I want to thank Jack for all of his work, working with individual homeowners and the association and going through this process. I know he's done a lot of stuff there. My issues are relatively minor, really, for me. I did have some pond with some frogs in my backyard when I first moved in, but I've done some mitigation on my own. I know a lot of people have done things not knowing that things that they were allowed to do and not allowed to do. So mine is really more of a grading issue than anything else. I don't know if who all is online. I saw some photographs from somebody else on the court. The Robin Anderson, that he has water flowing through the backyard. I know my daughter's online in the springtime. She gets water that comes from Cloud Township over from the drainage area into her drainage area. So Jeff would probably not have seen that if it was dry. But again, for me, mostly it's kind of a grading issue. I know there are a lot of homes, Rockridge Court and Mystic, where there is no drainage right now, where they have problems with property they can't use. And, you know, there may be some simple fixes to that, but I'm an original homeowner and I know a lot of these issues have been going on for a long time. And they did a lot of cleanup a long time ago, but it's time to really kind of fix the things that need to be fixed. I didn't realize how bad it was till I saw some of Jeff's photographs there with some of that. So, but again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, Brittany Klein.
Everything's been fine. I was at 2,400 monthly court. So I lived in my home for 2 years, and even when we toured the house looking to buy it, we had the lawn was wet. And the previous owner said, "Oh, that's just like, you know, it's an easy fix. You know, we tell someone who wants to buy your home that you have water with me." So anyways, I have 3 kids and I love to play in the backyard, but a lot of the times they can't because it's very rough.
You do a lot of,
Yeah. So these pictures, you can see that my yard backs up to next it. And that's to a lot of houses and they all sort of have their drains on 4th line. And there's also, you know, catch basin in that whole section. I'm not with featuring Marquis Nestic. There's one of the like the very from now. And so I think a lot of us now. I think a lot of people have those like, huge spouts and, some pump lines that are failing out, and it's not really anywhere for that water to go. So they could be on the catch basins, with the big catch basin right by us. And I also talked to the landscaper to kind of figure out if there was something that we could do ourselves to get that taken care of, but they said it was way behind his scope. And that's when they suggested that I contact the drainage commission. So basically, originally we thought that they were gonna be able to use the county's annual budget to do some projects for this, but in the end, it was decided that the only thing they could offer was the regrading, which is why we went for the petition. But basically, they're, we regrade the audio, there's no other, where that it go, there's no basin for the water to go in. So I guess I'm just another chip in of water issues in the backyard. I would love to have taken care of. And, we just wanna be able to use our backyard and, it wet for so long, we also had to like a bit of replacement in the winter. And we're just, we just don't want the water thing to pretty much go into our face, because we know it very well. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next up, and thank you for the photographs as well. Next up, Scott Lowe.
Scott Lowe, homeowner since 2000, 2628 Rock Ridge Court, drainage number 5. I hear all the homeowners complain. I think I'll just reserve mine. I think I'll just say thank you to the board, team, and Jeffrey, nice picture, and I appreciate you guys take time to investigate this. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. You bet.
Make it happen.
Next up, Osmar. Figure that, are you okay with that?
That was, let's say that. No. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Is there anyone else present who wants to speak?
One other comment. Again, Jim Anderson, 2330, Spring Ridge Court. One of the property, I believe it's 2385 Marquise Court. There's a lot of runoff on that from that property that comes across where we have a walking path, and we just like 2 inches of ice off of that this last year. Because of the amount of water. Well, it was a rather big rain we had on top of the frozen ground, but we have had that issue in that area. I just want to add that to the mix. So again, thank you.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. At this point,
We do have 2 people who have their hands raised online. If you would like to speak, go ahead and raise your hand. And then when you start, please again, start with your name and address for me. So first we have Deb Descendy.
Yep. Hello, are you guys able to hear me?
Are you able to hear?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Hello everyone. I am at 2267 Gemstone Court. I've been living here since 21. I was the very first house or the property in the presentation that the inspector provided. When we first moved in for a couple of years, we had a lot of drainage issues in the back. The property, the last 10 feet of our property was always wet. We couldn't mow lots of mosquitoes, sometimes just ducks swimming around. The issue was like the three houses to our east, everyone's, when it rains, all the water flowed through our yard, and then with a lot of rain, all the sump discharges also go through our yard. So after talking to a few neighbors, they had mentioned that sometime in 2005 or 8 time, the previous owners did approach the county to get some French drain put in because of the issues. But when I talked to the people at the county, I couldn't find anything. So eventually, I simply applied for a permit, which ended up costing close to $600. Put a French drain in. That was a couple $1,000s, but I think I was a lucky one having a detention pond right next to my property where I didn't have to go through anyone's yard. I simply applied for a permit, put a French drain, and it discharged into the detention pond. So I can completely relate to all the people who have been having issues, and thank you for everyone on the board and the county here for arranging this and taking time to listen to everyone. Hopefully some resolutions come out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it looks like Lars Anderson.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me? Yep,
Yes.
my name is Lars Robin Anderson. I live in Springridge Court 2359. This is zone 5 that was shown on the pictures before. I sent a couple of pictures of my drainage issues through mail. I don't know if they can be displayed or not, but I have lived here for 3 years, and we have a lot of drainage issues here as soon as it starts raining. And even worse when it becomes storm weather. We do have some kind of easement or like drainage easement system in place, but this one also gets fully full of water when the weather gets pretty bad. The lawn also has moss growing in many areas of the back. I don't know if that's because of the water issues, but I just wanted to mention it. What I see most of the time is that when the rain starts, water from even the forest in the back of our house, that water is led through the back of our house to our neighbor to the basin. And it doesn't take much, a few hours. You can see it in that picture there on the screen. So we're looking south here in this picture, and the forest is to my right in this picture. And so the water comes from the forest, sort of, most of the water at least, and it comes very rapidly because there's a lot of water coming, and eventually there's just too much water and it starts flooding, and it sort of connects with this secondary river here that we see on the picture between my house and the neighbors. This is the main area here where the water is gathering on this picture. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's sort of 2 rivers here connecting each other. And this is how it looks like when it gets pretty bad. The pool also can grow much more in size. I have seen it a little bit worse than what is in this picture here. This is from 2024, I think, if I remember. And this happened so far. So as I mentioned, I lived here for 3 years now, and this happens every year, especially early in the summer. And yeah, I just want to say thanks for your time, and I appreciate that you're trying to look into this.
Thank you for your comments.
And next we have Matt Burrows.
Yeah, good evening, Matt Burrows at 2467 Cliffside Court. At this point, I would pretty much just echo what all of my neighbors have said. I did email some photos late this afternoon. I apologize for not getting those in sooner. I was out of the country, but if those wind up being helpful to the staff in any way, certainly they're in the inbox right now. Again, just echoing what I've heard before, as a previous commenter said, when I bought my home here in 2019, it was the middle of the winter. So there was snow on the ground. The inspector didn't walk the backyard. So it was came as quite a surprise in the spring and into early summer, the amount of standing water that I had out there. The previous owner has actually put in an ornamental pond in the middle of the backyard to sort of address the issue. I think there would have been a pond there anyway had he not done that. Similar challenges. The sump output ends up being underwater at times in the middle of the winter and backs up because of freezing. So I'm having to call plumbers out to address that. And as many other folks have said, portions of the backyard that from the spring into early, even middle, sometimes late June, that just don't get mowed because there's standing water out there so long. And similar situation when any thunderstorm rolls through, it'll be a week or two to get the standing water out of there. So some real challenges to deal with. But again, as others have said, appreciate the time and effort everyone is putting into looking into this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, next, Darlene Jones.
Hi, it's actually Brant Jones using his wife's computer. I'm at 2298 Gemstone Court. And wanted to, in addition to what everybody's been pointing out, I'm at a situation where I'm sandwiched in between. There's one above ground or upflow and another resident to our east that's downflow towards the drain. I wound up putting in a rain garden to try and suck up some of the consistent water that was always in the backyard, which seems to have alleviated quite a bit of it. And I just wanted to echo that one of the reasons why there are so many pop-up drains is the root cause, I believe, is because of the grade on each one of our homes. It's only like about a 4-degree incline from the house to where the water is supposed to drain and collect. And none of us have a steep enough grade to keep the water flowing. And then, of course, there's the matter of how fast the drains can collect and dispel the water to the dispensing ponds. But so we got a couple of issues, I think, concurrently going on. But I just want to again thank you for addressing it. I mean, considering our issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, looks like we have 3 more. Stephen Zhao.
Hi, can anybody hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Hi, I'm Stephen Zhou. I'm the owner of the 2864 Mystic Drive. I'm the original owner, and we had a lot of issues, water issues during the past 20 years. Myself and my neighbor around me, particularly the owner for 2870 Mystic Drive, we try our best to try to fix the problem within our cost. That's including we put a gravel in there, we run the pipe underneath the ground, but it doesn't work. We never fix the problem from the root cause. Right now we cannot do the lawnmower. The lawnmower cannot get in those areas. Has a lot of mosquitoes in the summer. I think the part of the root cause for this is maybe the grid didn't grid to the print. Because about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I checked the print in the township. It seems that it was not graded to the print, though. That may be one of the reasons. But in recent years, the issue got worse and worse. It just we cannot fix it by our own. So I'm here just raise our hand. We appreciate your attention. We will appreciate that you will have a solution for us. The issues need to be fixed. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for your comments.
Next is Thomas Brown.
Hi, this is Thomas Brown. We're at 2683 Mystic Drive. Just recently moved in, only a few months, and really I just have a question. We have a catch basin in our backyard or adjacent to our backyard. I guess the maintenance of those, keeping those clear, do you want homeowners to help with that, or do you prefer the county to take care of that so as not to damage or make things worse? Thanks.
So questions posed, we ask that those be handled offline with staff. Is that okay? I'm looking at Scott, I'm looking at Gretchen. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any other commenters?
There was one more, but it looks like they lowered their hand. Was that by accident or A. Greer? Did you still want to make a comment? Doesn't look like it.
Very good, thank you. I appreciate you handling our remote commenters. Are there any written or other correspondence that need to be read into the record?
Matt, I'm not sure if you heard that. Did you also want us to read your email correspondence into the record?
No need to read it into the record. As long as you guys have the photos, if those are in any way helpful to you, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. One last call. Anyone else present who care to speak? Okay. At this time, we're going to close the public comment portion of this meeting. We're going to have some discussion.
Yep, so our 3 board members are, it's done by a majority vote. So they're gonna ultimately discuss and vote whether they feel that this is necessary to do this for the public welfare. If by majority vote, we determine the project is necessary, the Water Resources Commissioner mentioned, she's required to proceed with the project to construct and or improve the drainage within the drainage district. So I mean, we're gonna go ahead with a further investigation and take corrective matters under the auspices of the commissioner going forward. If the board determines the project is not necessary, then the process that we've been going through now comes to an end. And a new petition cannot be submitted for a period of 1 year. So if by majority vote they vote no, that it's not necessary. I defer to the board if they want to.
You have a procedural question?
I'm not sure it's only procedural. You mentioned if it was approved, a flow would be constructed. Do you get a sense of what the slope would be?
Yeah, so I did something similar. I don't know if anyone's familiar with like Fort Silence. So it's on Ellsworth in Pittsfield. Similar type of project. A combined system with pipe network and open channels, a number of detention bases, just like yours. So I'll be honest, it's a pretty intensive process because what we tend to do is we want to do a full investigation and get an idea of who has issues. And we've heard tonight a number of them, but what we would try to do is gather a list of all of the, I'll just call them complaints. And then try to compile those, and then we almost go property by property, with individual discussions about what a potential solution is. And what we normally do is we approach it, it's like we like to use existing easements, existing design swales, existing pipe conveyances. We make whatever corrections we can to make those operate the way they were designed. In some cases, and I think someone alluded to it here or maybe online, sorry, backs to you, but there's cases, and that was the case in Lake Forest Highlands where we had drainage issues that were outside of existing drainage easements on private property. What we did in those cases, we went through a process where we drew up new easement documents for those homeowners to sign to give us rights to go in and do work. In the case I worked on, they were amenable to it because they were looking for us to do something. But it takes time. So I'm kind of prepping to say that this is not going to be solved in weeks or months. This is more than likely, if something happens, I'm going to spend all of 2026 doing this investigation, talking, obtaining easements where I need to obtain them, and we probably wouldn't see substantive construction activity. But that would be the kind of the groundwork for it, where we would try to restore the system to its design function and then make whatever additional corrections that we see necessary. So as far as the scope goes, I think you can imagine it sounds like I'm hearing that there's issues in all 5 detention basin areas, in possibly multiple areas within each of the detention basin drainage areas. So it could be a fairly expansive project where we're working on in every court or street in the development. And again, not to be really too much, there comes a point where the commissioners have to make that decision on what's economically viable, because unfortunately, we don't have grant money, we don't get tax money, we don't have any sort of funds to do this work up front. So we don't have a bank account or anything. None of your taxes, if we don't do any work, go to us. So you have them assessed in your winter tax bills for maintenance that we've done. So you get paid for what we do. It would be similar to this. So if I don't want to throw a number out, but let's just say it's a very expensive project. There's 178 parcels. It does get shared, so Pittsfield Township we get part of that assessment charge. The county at large, which represents the road commission, because the public roads, they would get a charge. So it's portioned out, but ultimately the commissioner has to make a decision like, okay, is this too much of an economic burden for the parcel owners to bear? And if that starts to come into question, then we start making value judgments about what's the most work we can do. It's still not. It can become a big iter request. The board can tell me if you want anything questions.
Sure, thank you. Just in general, one of the homeowner on the phone, I just hear that he checked if the grading not to the spec cost make by bill, is it just an accountability?
There was, but I'll be honest, that window passed when the drain was accepted.
But the builder still survive.
I'm sorry?
The guy who ever do the builder still survive.
Yeah, but so the way this particular district was established under an agreement, so there was an agreement with the developer or owner of the property that developed it in our office. Part of that agreement was, yes, like you have to build this to the plan, and we're going to inspect it and make sure it was built to plan. We did go through that process, and there was a point where our office did say, this drainage stormwater management system meets our rules and standards, adheres to the plan.
developer, you're no longer responsible for the system. We're responsible for it. And when that point occurred in 2005, guessing a little bit, but when that point occurred, the developer no longer had a legal responsibility to do that. So I'm not saying that the drainage was messed up when we took it, because it's possible we missed it. And it's also possible that something occurred after we accepted it that altered it too. But either way, the drain district in our office, it was our responsibility once we said this is an accepted drain.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point in time, is there a motion, that will be fair to make, for necessity? Five?
Yes. I'll second. I, further review, make a motion that the proposed maintenance and improvement of the Arbor Creek as petitioned on July 28th, 2025 is necessary and conducive to the public health convenience for welfare. I'll support that motion. We've been supported, it's a discussion. Seems like an obvious text.
Yeah, I just want to comment, the resourcefulness of the residents and all the work that they've done to try to make this work and use the infrastructure that's there to correct the situation. Kudos to you. Your further comments? I'm just disappointed that all of this acreage, maybe the original plan may have not been well thought of. It is my thought of. That's good percolation, clay and the topography of the area. But that being said, that's ancient history. We need to move forward. Other comments? All right. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. At this point, I'm going to ask the secretary to read the order of necessity resolution, please.
Whereas a meeting was held by the Board of Determination on November 13th, 2025 at Pittsfield Township Hall, 6201 West Michigan Avenue in Ann Arbor, Michigan 485. And whereas the Board of Determination received evidence and heard testimony regarding the petition dated July 28th, 2025 for maintenance and improvement of the drain, and after receiving evidence and hearing testimony, made its determination whether the proposed drain project is necessary and conducive to public health, convenience, or welfare pursuant to Chapter 8 of Public Act 40 of 1956 as amended. Now, therefore, it is hereby ordered and determined that the proposed drain project as set forth in the petition is necessary and conducive to public health, convenience, or welfare. And I so.
Scott, back to you.
Okay. So this is, I guess, we're both virtual and homeowner present. So if you feel aggrieved, so they voted yes to proceed with the project. If anyone feels aggrieved by the decision, there is an appeal process. And the appeal process is that forth in the drain code would stipulate that you need to file a complaint with the circuit court in Washington County, the Washington County Circuit Court. You need to file a complaint with your agreement of the decision made tonight. We have to do so within 10 days of the commissioner signing the order, which they had the budget.
Well, the current homeowner's been notified of that?
You're getting, the notification is not.
So if they're not online, they don't know why.
No, we don't do additional notifications. But that would be the process, and then the circuit court would then go through their proceedings to decide if the appeal is warranted. Otherwise, we'll proceed with the project. So that means we'll start after the appeal period. So it won't be for 10 days, and then
After that 10 days, I know we have a lot of information. I know Jeff's got some too. We've got, I guess I'll call it a little bit of a database built where we have probably 4 or 5 pages of service request type situations kind of as a base, plus the testimony we might get from the meetings tonight. So we'll have a base to start with. But we'll use that, and probably there's going to be another kind of public outreach coming where we'll start soliciting. Like, hey, there's a project, you have a problem that we want to. And so that will probably be the next step from here. Is some sort of outreach that says, do you have a problem? And in some of your cases, we'll already have some sort of record. If that's really what the next. Good. Anything else from comments from the board with the adjourn?
Support, group supported, all in favor. Thank you all for coming out this evening, participating here with other regulars.
And thank you all for being patient with me as I struggled with the audio earlier. Hope you all have a good night.